Like we have about close to 30 folks on.
Yeah, okay, we're going to get started. So welcome, everybody. Hello, my name is Mary Shaughnessy. I am a senior manager for projects with JLL and a director on the CoreNet Global Canadian Chapter Leadership Council. I will also be your moderator for today's webinar on how AI and tech will revolutionize work and workplace. Everyone's video will be turned off and audio will be on mute so that we do not have distractions during the webinar, but we do want you to participate. So please use the Q&A function to ask any questions you may have. There will be one time which we're going to ask you to use the chat, and that's for a quiz or a poll, I suppose. And for those of you who are dialing in, just press *9, and this will let us know that you have a question and would like to speak, and then we will unmute you. And when you are unmuted, please provide your name and your organization if you don't mind. So it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Ram Srinivasan is the lead for JLL's Future of Work consulting practice for the Americas and is a member of JLL Consulting's global leadership team. He has more than 15 years of experience enabling the future of work for leading global organizations, as well as managing complex multi-regional and global real estate strategy projects for Fortune 500 companies, real estate developers, and public sector organizations. Ram's subject matter expertise includes hybrid workplace transformation, portfolio optimization, technology integration, and change management. Ram is like definitely our subject matter expert at JLL in this area. So over to you, Ram.
Thank you, Mary. I should have you do more of my introductions. Thank you all. I see about 30 odd folks online. Thank you all for your time this afternoon. Excited to bring to you the latest on what we are seeing from around the world. All things future of work, workplace, and AI. We as a team, we are working with large Canadian and global clients on solving for the future of work. Lots of great insights to share. As we go through this, happy to keep questions coming in. There's a Q&A feature on Zoom. Please add your questions there, and we will try and address throughout. Both questions, comments are welcome. Let's keep this interactive. We will address questions during the session. Mary will keep us honest. So let's dive in. Just very briefly before we get going on this, I write extensively about the topic of workplace, future of work, AI, tech. All of my content is free to access. I typically include full slide decks as well in my articles. So welcome to download all of them. You can use your phone camera QR code. There's a QR code on screen. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn. Happy to share more. In the last 2 or 3 months, I've written about everything from human AI partnership, impact of the metaverse on the workplace, trends for 2023, what executives should be doing, and how clients are solving for this, folks whom we have been working with. Today's topic, of course, is how AI and tech will revolutionize the workplace. So let's dive into what we will be seeing in today's session. Today's session is planned to be both informative and educational. There's a lot of ground that we will cover. A lot of insights. We'll keep it fairly high level, but happy to dive into specific areas as we go through this. We'll cover a few things that you're seeing on screen, what companies are focused on right now, insights from about 100 odd projects that our consulting team is working on, insights from JLL Global Research, why AI is talk of the town at the moment. We'll explore and learn about that a little bit more. I'll also share with you resources and links so you can access some of these platforms hands-on and test some of this. And you'll see some of that information and follow-on material from Chris, Mary, and others on this team. And then finally, we'll also see what we need to know as professionals, how all of this will impact CRE, the workplace, CRE operations, and more. So like Mary said, quick poll before we begin. Could I ask you a quick question? Look at the photos on the right side of your screen. Which one do you think is generated by AI? If you could use the chat feature on Zoom and just type in A, B, C, or D, and we'll keep close watch of who's saying what. but welcome your insights. And Mary, do you want to go first?
Well, Ram, I was going to say B, but I don't know. I'm not even sure. I can't even tell you why I think B. Just was my intuition.
I'm seeing a few in
A.
chat.
Ah, somebody said all of them. Another one, all of them, all. Wow.
That.
I think some people might be more familiar with AI than me.
So I see a lot of folks are familiar with the trick questions that begin these sessions. Yes, a lot of folks have got this right. All 4 of these images were generated by AI, a platform called Midjourney, version 5 that was released recently. So all of them are generated by AI. Isn't that crazy? I mean, this is the world that we live in. Just give you a flavor of the power of these tools. And in case you think it's only images, now it's video and many other things. And these platforms are generating some really cool stuff. By the way, also check out this website called interiorai.com. Really good, very interesting website. Allows you to do a lot of experimentation with interior design and those kind of things. So this is not just image generation, but it's also real practical application in the real estate space. All right. So as we go through this, let's begin with where companies are focused on today. Companies are, of course, focused heavily on enabling the future of work. How we work continues to change and evolve, not lost on any of us. Workflows are evolving, and accelerated AI adoption, digital transformation is shaping this. With all of the transformation that's happening, there's greater focus on who or what does the work, optimizing not just for where people work, but importantly, who does the work also is becoming important. Optimizing for that human machine equation is becoming a prominent aspect for most executives, large companies. And with respect to where there's focus on workplace ecosystems, most companies are seeing that hybrid is here to stay. And there's also this dance that's happening right now between in-person and virtual work, and where's the balance lie across all of that. We are also seeing companies are finding that being more purposeful and intentional about why and when people meet in person is becoming important. And then, of course, as purveyors of the real estate and workplace aspects of infrastructure, providing the right things at the right time for people to support and enable their work is becoming important. Leadership is also coming into greater focus, and empathy-based leadership is coming to the fore. Now, as one of my colleagues said, leaders can make your coffee taste better or bitter. And it's becoming very important for leaders to kind of have empathy and compassion upfront as they go through the next 12 to 18 months. Quick snapshot of where we are seeing companies land on this hybrid workplace continuum. Lots going on this slide, but as a meta trend, we are working with more than 100 companies right now in shaping the future of work and workplace. We are seeing tremendous experimentation across this hybrid work spectrum. Strategies are dynamic, they're regionalized. You can see there's diversity of approach by industry. We are also seeing companies are adopting strategies by country, sometimes even by city, and they're very different across all of those fields. Some companies even have differentiated strategies by team, even department, and so on and so forth. So clearly no one right answer. There is movement across all of these different verticals, if you will, if we could call them that. And there's a lot of experimentation happening right now. The meta trend is hybrid work is here to stay, and companies are trying to find what the right balance is between in-person and virtual work. There's also some really good insights that came through from IDC on future of work and trends. Honestly, the 10 trends here, each one of them warrants a deeper discussion. We need 1 hour for each, but I'll draw your attention to 4 of them that are relevant to our discussion on AI and future of work. With all of these new tools we are seeing, there's a greater democratization of what people can do. There is no barrier to entry now. Technical creativity, is kind of being simplified for people. There are no technical barriers. You can go from idea to app very quickly. Just as we have self-service BI, where you can create your own dashboard, we are soon seeing self-service AI, where you can have app creation in your hands. You can create apps very quickly. Companies and leaders are therefore seeing investment in educating, upskilling business users to adapt to these new technologies is becoming important. We are also seeing leaders already value real estate data more than they did 3 years back. So in technical terms, the data currency, the value of real estate data has gone up within organizations. We are seeing real estate teams work more closely and at times even report into technology functions. So we have real estate teams now reporting into CIO, CTOs of companies. And there's tremendous value being mined from workplace usage data. That's essentially, gold mine of information on how people are interacting. Very valuable for companies. And then the last couple of things on this slide that are highlighted, greater acceptance of hybrid work. We are seeing recognition that how we work, what we value at work, and how we bring parity across different worker types is becoming important. So we are seeing companies focus on value proposition for both hybrid remote workers, but also for in-office workers. So if you're coming into the office, do you get certain special subsidies? If you're working from home, do you get more support on ergonomic setup, those kind of things? And then bringing parity across those different types of workforce segments is becoming important. So IDC predicts that about 2/3 of companies will begin to see online presence on par with physical presence. So this is a change in the way companies are thinking about what matters. And then finally, space and data and how the data generated from real estate is used will become extremely important. We're going to see companies use all of the data to shape and plan office needs. We are now firmly in the space of dynamic real estate, and technology will play a huge role. Our real estate hardware is going to get a huge software upgrade, and AI will play a huge role in that process. So with that, why do we have all this talk on AI and what's influencing it? I subscribe to this newsletter, The Neuron. It's one way in which I keep abreast of what's happening in the technology world. It's a fantastic newsletter, highly recommend it. It gives you kind of a daily snapshot of what's happening in the world of AI. AI has been described as a civilization-defining technology. Bill Gates recently said that AI tools like ChatGPT will change our world. They'll make it far more optimized and make each one of us far more efficient. And with that, we've seen kind of an explosion of AI technologies and companies in the last few weeks to months. In case you missed it somehow, not sure how you would have missed it because every headline right now is seemingly about AI or some AI company. Just as a little bit of a quick reminder, about 4 months back, OpenAI launched ChatGPT. It beat all records for technology adoption, went to 1 million users in 5 days. Since then, Microsoft invested about $10 billion in OpenAI. Google launched their own version called Bard. Microsoft then launched Bing AI, integrated Bing AI into Edge. Meta then launched their own large language model called Llama. And now we have a new AI product launched seemingly every hour. And in case you're feeling that the pace of change is rapid, it's exploding. That is true. In the last 15 odd days, we've seen all of these launches that you see on the slide. 4 months back, OpenAI launched ChatGPT. Last week, they released an upgrade. That's the pace at which this is going. GPT-4 was released last week. ChatGPT did only text. GPT-4 is multimodal, which essentially means multiple different medium. So whether it's text, image, or video, it generates all of those. It does some amazing things. You can click a picture of the stuff in your refrigerator, for example, and it will suggest recipes for you. So really cool, insightful, and powerful tool for us to have access to. 24 hours after GPT-4 was released, LinkedIn's founder, Reid Hoffman, He co-authored and published an entire book using ChatGPT-4. Incredible. 24 hours within the launch of ChatGPT-4. Google also launched Workspace AI last week, which is AI tools integrated to all of their workspace platforms. Microsoft launched Copilot. If you haven't, please watch the product demo for Copilot. It's incredible, will blow your mind. It's essentially ChatGPT integrated into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Calendar, Teams, and more. Incredible. And as a side note, check out Canva's magic design. You can go from text to slide deck with a single sentence. Many more tools that have been launched just in the last 15 days. What an incredible time that we live in. It's been described as a very unique moment. We definitely live in a very unique moment. But why is that the case? It's because we are seeing this combination and convergence of multiple different technologies. We are also seeing tremendous pace of adoption. So the average customer, folks like you and I, now have access to these powerful technologies, and we are seeing adoption going through the roof. We're seeing innovation going through the roof. In the last 120 days, there have been about 1,300 new companies that have been launched that use generative AI. That's an incredible pace of change. We are also seeing these technologies evolve at a very rapid pace. And with that comes great adoption, great opportunity, boundless upside. But there's also some cautionary elements. We should be careful, given these new technologies are new. They're still evolving. We must use them with that in mind. AI is subject to hallucination. For example, when a calculator says 2 + 2 is 4, it's not the same as when an AI model spits out an answer to a question you have posed. It's very different. We should just take all of this with a pinch of salt. We've got to apply a critical lens to it. But what these tools do is they help us overcome blank canvas syndrome. They allow us to go from idea to output quicker. And as technology like these AI platforms, advanced robotics, holographic meeting technology, extended reality, all of these things mature, they will reshape our workplaces. And we are already seeing this. So just to give you a preview of what we are seeing with respect to workplace evolution. In today's workplace, we already have digital components. We have folks are working very flexibly already. We have exploration of technologies where feasible possible, depending on job type. We are also seeing offices have adopted different styles of working, activity-based workplace settings. We are already seeing companies trying to bring consumer-grade experience to people in their work environments. And a hybrid workplace and what we've seen in the last 3 odd years is accelerating all of these changes. But what we also see is a lack of integration. There's these multiple different disparate technologies. Transition between different spaces and work settings is not seamless. Digital and physical experiences are not the same. They're very different. And companies are still trying to work out the human AI machine ecosystem. All of this is still work in progress. We are also seeing CTOs, CIOs working towards shaping better digital employee experience. So that's kind of the current state, and we're in this transitionary phase. In the future, what we're going to see is digital workplace networks. People will have more optionality with where they work, how they work. Phygital tech will enable this, will shape peak experience for folks, will help optimize for performance and productivity. For example, when Mary shows up to the office, the office already knows which other colleagues are showing up. An app will inform her where her colleagues are. It'll help her plan the day. It allows for easier movement through the workspace. Ergonomics are automated. Spaces are hyper-personalized. Mary's favorite oat milk latte. I don't know, Mary, if that's what you drink, but that's already at your desk when you come in, and so on and so forth. This kind of hyper-personalization will happen in the future. And AI will bring all of this to life. So with that, let's take a quick look at what is AI. And I mentioned upfront that we'll keep this educational and informative. So this next couple of slides is just meant as a quick view of what AI is. By no means a lecture on the technicalities of AI. So what is AI? The short answer is AI is math. More specifically, it's a field of multiple different mathematical elements, which is statistics, linear algebra, probability theory, etc. This is an oversimplification, but it helps us get to the core concept of this. I love this article that I found on Medium. It's titled "Is AI Simply Regression Curve Fitting?" And that's where this concept of AI math kind of came about, right? And they also have some really good, interesting examples: RPAs, Excel models, cloud is someone else's computer, etc. It's an oversimplification, but it allows us to get to the core of this concept. I also love this meme on the right side of the slide, which kind of indicates that when you're pitching your VC, your slide decks say AI, JDs say machine learning or ML, and the actual fact is it's all statistics. It's an oversimplification, but it helps us understand that AI is actually math. We should also remember that AI is an umbrella term. It is a concept, and it actually includes many things. So things like machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, speech recognition, autonomous vehicles, all of these things use various technologies that are fueled by AI. It's an evolving, ever evolving AI tech landscape. For example, in the limelight right now is ChatGPT and its brethren technology, things like Dolly and others. These are a branch of AI called generative AI. And these types of models are called large language models, or LLMs. Broadly speaking, they use some form of machine learning method, deep learning methods, and they require a lot of data. All of these machine learning systems require a huge amount of data. AI models are trained on this data. There are a variety of machine learning methods. Won't get into all of them: supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning, etc. But suffice it for us to know that these models learn from that data, optimize a function, and get better at what they're doing. They get better at what they're doing in very narrow areas at the moment. Type of data and how much data they require varies by the problem that they're trying to solve. So, for example, most of us would be familiar with what happened with AlphaGo and the game of Go. But just as a quick reference point, the game of Go is regarded as more complex than chess. It's a board game, but it's more complex than chess. Google's DeepMind created an engine called AlphaGo. It learned from top human games, so that was the data set that it used. And it was able to defeat some of the world's best Go players. DeepMind's next version, AlphaZero, learned from itself. So AlphaGo learned from human games. AlphaZero played against itself, and it learned and it became as good as human players, and then very quickly it became better than them. These models are able to beat the best human players, but that's all they do. They work in those very narrow areas. And over time, what's happening, for example, with the game of chess, etc., is humans actually learn from the machines, and human players also get better. So it's this nice symbiotic relationship that we have between AI and humans. Also, I would underscore that this is not Skynet. These AI tools will help us do better, will help us be more creative, will help us shape better futures for ourselves. So what we have right now with artificial intelligence is not artificial general intelligence. It's narrow and it's in specific fields. Just to highlight also that AI or machine learning was already here. Everything from Google Ads to Facebook, Twitter feeds, email spam detection, photo filters. All of these use some form of machine learning method, and there's lots of application underway already across every industry, including commercial real estate. We are already using machine learning in many of our products across all of our service provider friends at JLL. And happy to share some of these practical applications at the back end of this discussion. All right. So with that, a little bit of a backgrounder. What do we need to know as professionals? So what we need to know is that virtually every profession, every professional going forward will have an AI co-pilot. Think Iron Man Jarvis. I love the question from Peter Diamandis, future of work thinker, problem solver, X Prize originator, so on and so forth. He poses the question, how much more would you do if you had your own version of Iron Man's Jarvis? So that's kind of where we are headed. We're going to have greater AI adoption across all industries. You'll have an AI co-pilot with you to help you with your work. This is what we are seeing developing. In fact, there's already research in this space. OpenAI and University of Pennsylvania released a study recently, and they note a couple of things. They're saying 80% of the workforce should prepare for impact of AI. What's interesting in this paper is how they defined impact. How they define impact is we can do the same task in half the time with AI. These AI tools will take the drudgery out of work and allow us to focus on things that really matter, allow us to be more creative. Personally, I could just use help managing my Outlook calendar. That'd be a great start. And that's a future that I'm excited about. So there are a couple of other very interesting studies that came out. In fact, great research coming out of MIT recently. By the way, I've said recently a few times in this talk. All of these recentlys are in the last 2 weeks. The paper by OpenAI was published this week. This MIT study was released as of a week or so back. So quite literally fresh off the press. What you're seeing on this slide is evidence of how ChatGPT use impacted workforce positively. This is a technical white paper. I'll share the link to this white paper as well. But just as insight for us on this discussion, researchers ran a simple online experiment. They assigned occupation-specific incentivized writing tasks to about 400 college-educated professionals. They randomly exposed some of them half to ChatGPT. And here's what they found. They found inequality between workers decreased. ChatGPT compressed the production distribution across the workforce, and it allowed lower skilled workers the ability to do more. And worker effort were spent on things like idea generation, editing, etc. And it restructured the work away from rough drafting. It allowed people to do more creative work. And exposure to ChatGPT, interestingly, also increased job satisfaction levels, self-efficacy, so on and so forth. It's a brilliant outcome. What the study is showing that human plus AI is greater than human or AI alone. And we are also seeing some really good research coming out of other fields on this topic. Increasingly, we are seeing different and novel interactions between humans and machines. Human-only and machine-only activities are easier to spot and identify. The place where there's a challenge is where there's overlap between human and machine. So how we enable machines and how machines augment us is an area where companies are heavily focused on right now. Many companies are investing heavily in upskilling the workforce. I mean, we noted that OpenAI, Pennsylvania University suggests 80% of the workforce should prepare for impact. A lot of companies are focused on upskilling the workforce. Lots of good examples to share in this space. I'll share one. These are all public examples. Standard Chartered Bank, for example, used an online AI platform to match employees with career opportunities. This platform created options for participating workforces to upskill and reskill. They ran several pilots with about 12,000 odd users. And what they were able to do was unlock 4,000 hours of productivity. This pilot saw the biggest year-on-year increase in employee satisfaction Many companies have made similar investments in upskilling the workforce. So just a few examples to share. PwC has invested something like $3 billion globally to equip its workforce with digital skills. Amazon has invested 700 million in its upskilling 2025 program. AT&T invested about $1 billion in its future ready program. Accenture is investing about $1 billion in Accenture Connected Learning. Microsoft is investing billions in Microsoft Learn, Microsoft Virtual Academy, other platforms. Many examples like this. Why are companies doing this? Well, because it's good business. Here's what we are seeing with respect to companies and their impact of use of AI in their businesses. So we are seeing that AI tools have been deployed, and where they have been deployed to augment the workforce, companies are seeing outsized benefits. Already, we are seeing 63% of companies report revenue increases from AI adoption. We have also seen 44% of them say that AI has helped them reduce costs. And the key thing on this slide, great insights, by the way, from McKinsey and Company. I'd draw your attention to the left side graphic. It's showing this beautiful curve that kind of going upwards for companies that are early adopters. Early investment in AI enables you to create this outsized advantage. What looks like a small lead today could translate to a huge lead in the very near future. And this, of course, has implications for businesses. If they make smart, strategic, surgical investments, they could gain market share, they could gain differentiation, they could attract the right kind of talent, and that sets up a virtuous cycle for their business. All of this, of course, has implications on how and where work happens, how this impacts the workforce, how an increasingly dynamic workforce is equipped and enabled, and therein lies the impact to CRE. We now need to think about things and do things very differently. So in the CRE space, why does this matter to us? It matters because we are moving towards a anytime, anywhere workforce model. We are seeing that work is everything around us. Business transformation is getting accelerated by everything that we've seen on AI today. Digital business and workforce transformation at scale is underway at almost every company. We are therefore witnessing digital workplace transformation as well. Executives are challenging real estate leaders, corporate real estate leaders, to move at the pace of business. They are challenging us to be more agile, flexible. They're challenging us to support a distributed network of users. They're also posing questions on when people assemble in person, how do we enable peak experience for them? How do we use data and technology to shape that experience? Static real estate paradigms are the past. We are firmly in this age of dynamic real estate. So there are some very practical implications for us. So let's look at some of them. We've gone through a little bit of history, theory, and insight on AI, future of work, and digital transformation. What are the practical implications for us in the real estate space? So this is not just about the future of work, it's also about the present of work. What we're seeing, of course, is that this concept of unified reality. How do we bring the physical world and the virtual world together to shape outcomes for businesses and for our workforce? The landscape that we play in now is much, much wider. Previously, it was just the physical world. Now our landscape includes a whole spectrum from physical to virtual. Some of these technologies are new. They're an evolution of what we have seen in the past, and we are seeing wider acceptance. For us in the real estate space, things like digital twins are not new. 360 video capture technology like Matterport, etc., is not new. But we are seeing an evolution of all of those platforms. We are seeing the next generation of those platforms, and we'll continue to see evolution. We are also seeing telepresence, robotics, and some of those kind of things gain acceptance across our client network. So here are a few examples of what we have seen. Companies continue to explore, of course, things like virtual reality, VR, metaverse. This is an example, top right corner of the slide, eXp Realty. They use a platform called Verbella. Verbella is a low-cost VR platform, allows you to very quickly experiment and test. Again, post this discussion, happy to share links with everyone who's joining us. So EXP is a realty service provider. They have real estate agents, and EXP's office has always been virtual. They have 85,000 agents. And through Verbella, they allow their real estate agents to get training, transactional support, collaboration, and much, much more. So it's a virtual platform that allows you to do all of that. Accenture, for example, has onboarded something like 150,000 people through virtual reality. They've invested in 60,000 virtual reality headsets. So that's one example where companies are heavily invested in, and they're also experimenting with how some of these virtual reality platforms, augmented reality, extended reality platforms can support both physical and virtual work. The other thing that I draw your attention to is bottom right corner of the slide. If you thought holograms were science fiction, think again. This is a very real company, Portal. Their holographic meeting tech allows you to experience interactions in 3 dimensions. The gentleman on the left side of that screen grab there is actually he is 3D rendered onto a box. So it's a fantastic platform. Honestly, the 2D on this slide does not do it justice. Highly recommending you see this on their website. Really cool technology. Another example is telepresence robotics. I had the pleasure of meeting Ava Robotics founders recently. Left side of the screen is where you're seeing a telepresence robot. I was able to see these robots in action, and it's amazing. They're incredible. They allow you to experience virtual interaction in a whole different way. Imagine you're doing a site tour, but you're not able to join in person. Now you have the ability to control this robot that walks through the space and allows you to experience that space in a very different way. So great way for us to bring virtual interaction to life through some of these examples. None of these platforms will completely replace real world interaction. They're simply an extension of physical reality and will allow us to shape experience for all platforms of our workforce. Here's another very practical example. We're doing this through our JLL technology and product platforms. One of the key things is we don't lose sight of why we are doing any of this. Technology, not for technology's sake, but to enable better experience. So when we say something like hyper-personalized experience, what do we mean? What we're saying is we are designing very individual experiences for folks when they show up. So if you're designing those specific experience, how do we do it? How do we enable better connection? How do we enable better human interaction? How do we enable and equip people for peak performance? So here's a model of how we are doing this with our companies across different technology components. So going bottoms up on that pyramid, to do any of this good work, you need great core infrastructure and data. For example, gathering data through IoT sensors. One level up, you need fantastic applications. So for example, booking systems, visitor management, all of those create data as well. And then you have great end user experience enabled, for example, through an experience app, and that creates data as well. So now you have multiple different components, multiple different sets of data, and all of those in conjunction allow you to shape your spaces much more dynamically. We can in fact take this one step further and think about this in terms of ambient intelligence. Essentially, if the workplace had a voice, what would it say? And so here's an example of JLL's dynamic occupancy management solutions and how they work. What you're seeing on this slide is different problem statements that we are solving for clients. So for example, how do we drive better employee experience? Or something like presence awareness. How do we ensure that when you come into the office, you don't feel alone? Engineered serendipity. When you think about pre-pandemic, we often spoke about hallway collisions and serendipitous encounters. that was innovation left to chance. Why do you leave innovation to chance if you could use data to inform that connection? And it becomes even more important in this hybrid world where you're going to have people coming in less frequently or people's schedules not marrying and so on and so forth. So data and technology would play a big role in engineering some of that interaction. How can we use data to shut down floors or operations during off-peak hours, low demand days, and so on and so forth? Or how can we use data to direct services to where users are and where there is peak volume and so on and so forth? So those are different areas that we are working on with occupancy planning. How can space or real estate mirror the more dynamic work patterns we are seeing? As we move forward with this, we will see AI play a greater and greater role. Some of our legacy building systems that were standalone will become more integrated. So as we move through the smart building infrastructure space, we're going to see these smart buildings will acquire an AI brain. Rich data sets will allow the building to identify pain points, inform things like preventative maintenance, offer prescriptive insights on what types of services to deploy where and when. This is not science fiction. Most services companies are plotting the path in this direction. So just to give you a sense of what JLL is doing in this space, there's a huge amount of investment JLL has made in this space of technology, AI, and augmentation. We are moving towards more data-driven insights and decisions. We have made investment in smart technologies like InfoGrid, AI, ML-based occupancy management systems like CoSpace AI, AI systems like Hank that maximize comfort and energy efficiency, and many, many others. Importantly, all of this tech is coming together to shape integration, to shape experience, to shape insight for executives, and to allow each one of us in the workforce to do a better job. So that's a lot of content. I'll take a little bit of a breather here, just a lot of content to absorb. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to share a few things, Mary, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
Priorities for 2023, and I know there are questions, etc. Happy to take them. Just a few takeaways, 3 key things that executives are focused on in 2023. Digital workforce enablement. And with that comes real estate portfolio optimization. And then the third one is around dynamic real estate deployment. All of this means greater investment in technology, navigating a larger workplace ecosystem, ensuring employees thrive and feel included. And as leaders approach this, as we said upfront, it's clear they must do so with empathy. Things are evolving very quickly, and therefore one needs to approach this with humility and a learning mindset. And we are solving for this with our clients. So just a brief view of our future of work framework. This is an exhaustive model built on 4 key pillars: work, workforce, workplace, and portfolio. And with our client partners, we are solving for a few key questions. Things like what is the work now and how workflows are evolving? What is the new human machine AI dynamic and how workforce preferences will evolve? How these will shape the workplace, both physical and digital, how we will involve and evolve these workplace models to enable people, how these in turn influence portfolios, and how will CRE teams evolve to support the dynamic real estate models of the future. And last but not the least, behavioral change and the role that leaders at every level need to play. So we are supporting some of this workforce transition and change adoption as well. Just a reminder, happy to share links to all of this content that we have seen. Important that you go and experiment, touch the future yourself. A couple that I'd like to highlight here, really cool platforms, Chat PDF. Imagine you could chat with a PDF file. That's what this does. You can upload a PDF file on here and ask it questions, natural language question. It will answer you based on what's in that PDF document. Really cool platform. To me, again, great platform. You can go from text to presentation very, very quickly on that. So happy to share all of this and reach out, touch the future for yourselves. Just in conclusion, like I said, last 120 days or so, we've seen 1,300 companies sprout that leverage generative AI. Incredible pace of development. But there's a meta trend here. What's that meta trend? What do these companies solve? They're solving human problems. Which ones will survive? Those companies that allow us to connect with purpose will survive. The future of work, therefore, is human-led, not machine-led. It's purpose-driven, but it will be AI and tech augmented. So with that, thank you, and I'll turn back to Mary.
Thanks, Ram. And there are actually two questions. One came in earlier. Could you please share something about healthcare industry and how it could benefit from AI?
Well, there's tremendous work happening in healthcare and AI. Thank you for that question. Folks who know me, I read like my life depends on it. Sometimes it does. Have a look at this website called Medical Futurist. They have some amazing insights on how AI is influencing the healthcare space. One that I would mention is, think about problem statements in the healthcare pharma space. Biggest challenge for pharma companies is drug discovery and accelerating drug discovery, shorter time to market. Typically, drug discovery took years. It took decades. Companies spent billions of dollars. You had wet labs that did experimentation on this. Vaccine took years to generate. In the last 3 years, we've seen an explosion of how quickly this happens. AI has changed that. The go-to-market time now is months, and the investment required is millions, not billions, and AI has done that. Things like DeepMind's AlphaFold allows us to generate some of these protein sequencing very, very quickly. Mary, let me ask you a question on healthcare. If I were to ask you to guess how long it took us to sequence the COVID-19 virus DNA, what would be your guess? Number of days?
Number of days. 200?
200? It took us 2 days.
2 days. Okay.
2 days to sequence.
That's incredible.
So that's the influence with healthcare. There's also a lot more happening in healthcare space. Won't burden all of us with it, but there's some really good resources. There's a book titled "The Patient Will See You Now." It's a play on "The Doctor Will See You Now," of course, and it's kind of learnings from the retail space on what's happening in healthcare. So huge implications for healthcare and AI.
I wonder if you could also comment on the healthcare, like the environment, the actual hospitals. And, yeah.
Yeah, again, all of what we discussed with respect to virtual reality, IoT, sensor-driven technologies, robotics, telepresence robotics, all of those have implications for physical environments. We're also seeing optimization of those physical environments. So, like if we think about healthcare environments, there is a heightened degree of air ventilation that's required, heightened degree of safety required. If we think research sites, you need to give scientists with more time for science and so on and so forth. So how will real estate enable all of that? Think of the role that AI played in drug discovery, where we've gone from decades to months. What if real estate played the same role?
Fair. Another question from Alex. He's asking if you have any advice on how you might approach the conversation with your clients regarding how to support or finance changes in the space in order to incorporate AI or robotics.
I think
how do you bring up, because it's going to cost them money
yes.
to implement these changes, right? So what's your advice on how to approach that?
Share this presentation with them to start us. I mean, great question, right? Ultimately, it all boils down to dollars. And right now, if there is a space that companies are willing to invest in, it's in these types of technologies. Again, why would companies do this? Is because it allows them to generate revenue faster, go to market faster, save costs, all of those kind of things. So I think it's a no-brainer, but business cases will need to be generated, specifically depending on company circumstance and so on and so forth.
Right. I think I may have answered a question here earlier. The question was related to the website for text to slide. And I said it was Canva, but I think I just heard you say it was To-Me.
There's Canva, there's To-Me. Canva is actually it's a fantastic platform. They've been around for a long time, but they launched as of yesterday. They launched Magic, a tool that allows you to go from text prompt to full slide deck with multiple different options of that slide deck, etc. So happy to. I'll share all of those links with this.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Let's see. I see a couple more. What do you do on a daily basis to keep up with the latest tech in AI?
It is difficult. Honestly, it is difficult. The pace at which things have moved, especially last 4 to 5 months, has been challenging to keep track of all of this. Few resources that I would highly recommend. I mentioned the Neuron. Again, I'll send link to that. It's a daily digest, very, very easy to read. Axios is a fantastic platform. Again, they give you nugget-sized information on different news articles from around the world. And I also follow a few experts in the AI space. Ali K. Miller is one of them. She's a fantastic leader in the AI space. There's Steve Nouri, who also publishes on AI. So these are folks who I follow along with some of these newsletters. But there's a lot. I mean, it's tough to keep up.
Yeah, I bet. Here's one last question so far anyway, from Trevor Langdon. So he's got a little bit of a narrative to lead up to it. Your early adopters slide was powerful. Sitting here today, it's not immediately clear to me how our business can leverage AI. Trevor is in the kind of brokering of reusing of furniture. 5 years from now, me will surely look back at today me and shake his head at that comment. Any recommendations for how our executive team can be proactive in our thinking of how to adopt or integrate AI into our business?
I think a great question. I think it's incumbent on each one of us to start experimenting right away. So we have done that with the work that we do. Some of these tools are free, right? And it's simple to adopt them, but we need to apply our expert lens to the outputs. Like I mentioned, these are new. We don't know necessarily if they give you the right answers or the wrong answers. It's just a different perspective. There are some early adopters, even in the brokerage space. We have seen some really good content come out of some of our brokerage partners on how they're using AI in the brokerage space. I shared an example of interiorai.com and how they're using, how we could use technology to support even interior design. There's some really good, interesting insights on how some of our project management teams are using AI around the world for rapid testing and problem solving. There's testfit.io. I don't know if you've seen that website. Really cool. Goes from concept to test fit on it, and you can do iterations. We have our own platforms that JLL is invested in, SaltMine, and so on and so forth. That, again, really cool from a implementation time perspective. But bottom line is we have got to start experimenting with it, use it, build business cases, showcase to our executive teams how this can be used and implemented. We have done that internally as well. It's tough to get the ball rolling on this, but once you do, the momentum will pick up. And like I said, right now, if there's interest from executives investing anywhere, it's in AI and technology.
I think that's the end of the questions, and we are at kind of the 3-minute mark here. If there are any more, just throw them in there, and we can stay longer if necessary. I know, Ram, you don't have anything right backing up onto this, right? You're good to stay a little bit longer? Okay.
I'm happy.
Okay. So while we're waiting for more questions, I'll just wrap it up here. So I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today, and of course, specifically thanking Ram for his information-packed presentation. A short survey will be available right after this webinar. It basically pops up in your browser. And if you could please respond, because it helps us to plan our future CoreNet offerings. And a reminder that the deck will be shared out with the recording. And I believe Ram said he would include any links that he has mentioned on the call today that are not in the deck, including the newsletter. I know someone was looking for that newsletter link. And if you can also follow Ram on LinkedIn and find his articles there with many more links, obviously. And just some upcoming events that you might be interested in. On the 30th of March, CoreNet's holding a restroom revolution webinar, which might be of interest to landlords in particular who have, base building washrooms that they need to upgrade. Creating socially sustainable commercial real estate is another webinar that I'm hosting as well on April 12th. Adapting in times of change is on April 27th, and then the ever popular annual golf tournament, which will take place on May 31st. That's obviously an in-person event, although you can probably use AI to play some golf. Let me just look here. Is there anything else? So there's an anonymous question. Did you use AI to create this presentation?
Some slides, yes.
Some slides.
I'd included a couple of my recent articles. There are slide decks accompanying those articles, which are generated using fully generated using AI.
Cool. All right, and then some nice comments about very informative, great stuff. So thank you, and thank you everyone for joining. If there's nothing else, we'll let you go.
Awesome, thank you all for participation and your questions and keeping this interactive.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Good questions today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Yeah, bye.